Hey guys, so here's the last little bit that we need to do for financial maths, and this will see out the financial maths for prelim. So it's going to be on compound interest. The other day, we were talking about simple interest, and we were talking about how simple interest is where we have some sort of a principal, which we might invest in a bank or something like that. And each time that time period rolls around, so let's say it was a year, but it could be months or anything like that, the interest that we've calculated is added on in equal installments. So if I was talking about $1,000 and it was invested in a bank account at 10%, and that interest was added every year for 5 years, so 10% of $1,000 is $100. What that means is at the end of each year, we would have $100 added to our bank account. So we'd ultimately end up with $1,500 after 5 years. Now, compound interest is a little bit different. It's where the interest is already, or where the interest, is factored into our calculation. So what I mean by that is, if we think back to our last example, we have $1,000, and we take that $1,000 and we add the $100 that we get after the first year. After the second year, we now get 10% of that $1,000 and the $100, or $1,100. So this particular year, instead of getting an extra $100, we're now getting $110. Now what we'll see very shortly is that these little bits all add up. It is quite important that you understand whether you're getting compound interest or simple interest, because the difference is huge. So I've got an example here to see us, to start us off. So here I've got $100 with, we'll say, two banks. So I've got the bank on the left and the bank on the right. One's offering 10% of simple interest. One's offering 10% of compound interest. So the first year, you'll see both are the same. They both get $110. Now after our second year, again, very similar. We take, for our simple interest, last year's amount. So we've gone from $110 here, and we come down here, $110, and we add this extra $10 here. And so what we get is $120. Now on this right-hand side, we're going to take this $110. So this is with our compound interest, $110. Comes down here. We add on our 10% of $110, and now we get $121 using compound interest. Now this doesn't seem like too much of a difference, but let's see what happens next. So here we've got $110 plus $10 is $120. $120 comes down to here. We add on our $10, our static amount that we're adding on each time, and we're going to get $130. Now on the right hand side, $121 comes down. Because of compound interest, we're now getting $12.10 instead of $10. We ultimately end up with $133.10. Alright, as I said, not too much of a difference. However, let's fast forward 27 years into the future. So now we've had our money invested for 30 years. So on this left-hand side, if we went through and we worked out all the calculations before the end of the 30 or at the start of the 30th year, we'd have $390. We'd add our $10 on like normal, and we'd end up with $400. So not too bad considering we didn't really do anything. We just put $100 in a bank account. However, on this side, there is a huge difference. So here, we started off the year with $1,586, and we've added an extra $158.60 for a total of $1,747. Now this is a big difference. This is $1,345 difference, just because we used a compound interest account instead of a simple interest account. Alright, let's have a look at this. So One way that we can calculate compound interest is that we can use a table. And the thing about using tables is that they lend themselves very nicely to Microsoft Excel or Google Numbers or Sheets, whatever it's called. And we're going to use the Google version to finish this lesson off. And what we can do when we do it this way is we break the problem down into several years of simple interest. So let's have a look. I got a problem here. Karis is investing $700 in the local bank. If the bank offers 5% interest compounded twice a year, how much will she have in the bank after 3 years? So I'm going to jot down a few things. First thing I'm going to jot down is the initial amount. Our initial amount is $700. Next, I'm going to say what our rate is. So our rate is 5% per annum, but we've got this important statement in here. It's compounded twice a year. So what we have to do is we have to halve this. It's going to be 5% over 2 per annum. Sorry, this isn't per annum anymore. Which is, we'll say per half year, which is 2.5% per half year. And the last thing we're going to do is T is 3 years, but if we have a look here, per half year, we got years up here. We're going to make these the same. So we're going to have equals 6 half years. It's important that our times all match up. Alrighty. So let's go through. I'm going to show you how. Let's move that right down. How we set up this table. So with our table, we're going to have a few headings. Our first one's going to be time period. And next one is going to be our opening amount. We're going to have our interest. And then we're going to have our closing amount. Let's just tidy this table up a little bit. Alrighty, like so. So, our first time period is going to be after 6 months. So after 6 months, we open our account with the $700. So this is right before our money's been invested. We've got to work out what our interest is. So we remember, say that interest equals PRT, which equals 700 times by 2.5%. Make sure you include that. Times by 1, because we're only running it for 6 months. So 700 times by 2.5% will be 700 times by 2.5% is $17.50. So our closing amount will be $700 plus $17.50, which is equal to $717.50. Now, once we've done this value up here is going to come down to here, and it's going to be our new opening amount. So after 1 year, our opening amount will be $717.15. We use our rule again, I equals PRT, which is going to be $717.50 times by 2.5% times by 1, which is going to be 717.50 times by 2.5%, $17.94. And up here, for our closing amount after 1 year, it will be $717.50 plus $17.94, which is equal to, I might write it underneath, $717.50 plus 17.94 is $735.44. And now, same as last time, I'm going to bring this down to here. So, next bit, we've got 18 months, or you can write this as 1.5 years, I don't mind. Now what I might do, I think, is I am going to speed up this next little bit. Alrighty guys, so there you have it. I've drawn up the table. We've got down the left hand side our time period. So because the question said that we were waiting, or we had to keep it rolling over until she had had the money invested for 3 years, we have to keep going until we've got 3 years on the left hand side. Our opening amount up here is $700. We calculate the interest based on what our opening amount is for each year. So here, our opening amount would be $700. Here it's $717.50. Here it's $735.44, and so forth, all the way down. And then our closing amount is our opening amount added with our interest is our closing amount. There you go. Alrighty, so we can see after 3 years, Karis would have $811.80, and we'll write a little therefore statement to see it out. Therefore, Karis would have $811.80 in her account. For this last little bit, we're going to be looking at how we can use Excel to set up a table similar to this one right here. So I know in your textbook we have to do a few questions. It's going to ask you to do something similar. So once you've done it once, the process is pretty similar. The only thing I think that'll really change is obviously your numbers, but your time periods might end up a bit shorter or a bit longer or something like that. So we've got an example here that a bank is offering 7.5% per annum compounded yearly, that's important, yearly, on investments. $4,000 is invested for 15 years. So using a spreadsheet, we need to determine the value after 15 years. I'm going to be using Google Sheets. You can use Microsoft Excel, whatever you prefer. If you don't have Excel, Google Sheets is free with a Gmail account, which your education account will cover. So here is the beginnings of a table that I've set up. So we're going to go from 1 to... Now instead of writing all the way down to 15, I can highlight these two boxes and drag them. I've gone too far, so to 15 years. There we go. Our opening amount is going to be $4,000 because that's how much we've invested. Off to the side, I should probably write a few things. So I'll say our principal is $4,000. Our R is going to be 7.5%. And our T is going to be 15 years, but we don't really need it because we're breaking it down into yearly increments. So when we calculate our interest, it's going to be equals, which is telling the spreadsheet that we're going to be doing some sort of a calculation. Our opening amount times by our rate over here. And I need to do something special with the coordinate or the H3 for our rate. I have to put a $sign in front of the H and I have to put a $sign in front of the 3. And the reason for that is I intend to drag my columns down to work it out really quite quickly. And if I don't put the $signs in front of the H and the 3, every time I drop down one, this box here is going to drop down one. So it won't be my rate anymore. And then it'll get down into here and it'll just be 0 and it'll stuff everything up. So we need our $signs here. And we don't really need to do it, but our time period is going to be 1. So remember, PRT. So there's our interest that we get in our first year. So now, this is our closing amount will be our opening amount added with our interest. Same as before, our opening amount for the second year is going to be equal to the closing amount from the year before, $4,300. Now I'll do it one more time, even though we could technically just drag all these down. Our interest for this year will be 4,300 times by our rate. Again, our rate needs the $signs either side of it, like so, times by 1 for the single year that we're looking at. Alright, last thing. Our closing amount for this year will be 4,300 added by $323. Let's drag it down and see what we get. So it's going to freak out here because I haven't dragged all the columns down. So you can see I got one answer. Same here, I imagine I will get one answer. But then when I drag this down, it should all come together. There we go. So we can finish by making a little therefore statement. What's going on? I've lost my internet connection. So we can finish with a therefore statement. It's not going to play ball. Therefore, the account or the investment would finish with a value of $11,836 after 15 years. And that would tie it up. Alrighty guys, that wraps up our financial maths unit, which is exciting. We've only got 2 more to go for prelim. Make sure you get in, do the questions, and of course, fill out the survey once you're done.